Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and Ramadan Mubarak. Welcome to the first Dogana YPC webinar. We're so glad you could join us today. On behalf of the team, thank you for taking the time to be here for a conversation that's very important and deeply personal for many of our colleagues. Today's session is titled Plan B Didn't Match, Now What? First, I want to acknowledge something openly. Not matching does not define your abilities. It doesn't define your dedication or your potential as a physician. Many incredibly talented and hardworking applicants go unmatched every year, despite putting in years of effort, resilience, and sacrifice. If you're here because you didn't match, or if you know someone who hasn't matched, please know that you're not alone, they're not alone, and that doesn't define your worth. And this moment does not close the door on your dreams. In fact, many physicians who are thriving right now in residency and with successful careers in the US stood exactly where you are today. Sometimes the path isn't linear, and that doesn't mean that the destination is out of reach. The goal of today's webinar is to help you turn this moment into an opportunity for growth and strategy. Our speakers will share practical guidance, insights, and concrete steps that you can take over the coming months to continue to strengthen your application, build your experience, and approach the next cycle with confidence. We hope you leave today with clarity, actionable tips, and most importantly, renewed hope. Thank you again for being here and for your commitment to this journey. Let's get started. Of course, it would have helped if I introduced myself at the beginning. My name is Isra Khan. I'm a pediatric hospitalist at Children's Hospital Colorado, and I am the YPC chair for Dogana 2026. I'm very happy to introduce our panel today, and we'll go one by one talking about their slides and presentations. So first is Dr. Anusha Asim, who's a second-year family medicine resident at Western Michigan University. Welcome, Anusha, and you can get started.
Hello, everybody. I'm Anusha. I'm a second year at Family Med and WMed, and just want to let you guys know that I soaped into this program, and I also felt like it's the end of the world when I got the email that I didn't match. But with a lot of support and a lot of hard
Can you
work,
please go, Liana?
yeah, so with a lot of support and with a lot of hard work, I made it. So I can assure you guys that you guys have the potential too. So this first slide is just like for it's very short. This is just like an overview. But in my future slides, I have included the exact like so process R by R from the NRMP website. So we'll focus more on that. But this is just like an overview. Soap, I think this year is gonna start like the match email, I think comes on Monday, March 17th of this year. And then right after that, if you did not match, you are soap eligible. The people who are not soap eligible are those either who have matched or they never submitted a rank list or they were never certified. But if you were certified and you submitted a rank list and did everything correct yet still didn't match, you are soap eligible. So on NRMP's website, there's a release list of unfilled programs after the match email. And I can assure you, you wouldn't need to go find that out yourself because within minutes of the list being released, it was circulating everywhere. Like it was on Facebook, all the WhatsApp groups. So you're gonna get that list before you have time to go search for it yourself. And that's a good thing because at that point you can use all the support you can get. And then उस list में बहुत सारे नाम होंगे. It's gonna have all the programs of all the categories like surgery, family med, internal med, peds, you name it, उसमें सारे होंगे. So don't make the mistake of applying to programs जो or the specialties जो पता है कि IMG friendly नहीं है. You only have 45 programs to apply and you literally only have 2 days. So that is the time to score your spot and start shortlisting programs based on visa, कौन-कौन visa देता है and which programs are more IMG friendly. ये काम अकेले नहीं हो सकता because उस वक्त it's really like it's you're going through a lot of emotions and you need your friends or your family to help you during that time. So gather some friends or sisters or family, whoever you can gather, and start dividing. Okay, like say I did it, like शुरू के 20 programs तुम shortlist कर लो, because the problem is कि उस list में सिर्फ programs के नाम होंगे and empty seats होंगी. It doesn't tell you कि वो visa देता है कि नहीं देता, H1 देता है, J1 देता है, what क्या scene है. It's just gonna tell you name and number of empty seats. And each program की या तो website पे जाके या eras पे जाके अलग से जा जाके you have to figure out if you're eligible to apply in that program. And the thing is, since you only have 45 programs, you don't want to waste a single application, right? So gather your friends and take your time and shortlist up to 50 to 55 programs. उन programs पे ज़्यादा focus करो जिस पे ज़्यादा empty seats हैं. You're more likely to get an interview from a program जिसमें 3 empty seats हैं compared to a program जिसमें एक empty seat है, because yeah. So once you get that shortlisted, now you have to choose to apply to 45 programs. Don't make the mistake कि for example अगर सिर्फ मेन मैच में इंटरनल med में अप्लाई किया था नहीं मैच हुआ, then soap में भी don't stick only to internal med, because internal med is really hard to match sometimes in soap. Most of the empty spots are जो visa offer नहीं करते, and we learned that हमारे time पे. Maybe things are gonna change this year, but just in a general rule, most internal med जो spaces जो sorry spots खाली जाते हैं are those जो visa sponsor नहीं करते, and they need like green card or any work permit or anything. So you can definitely apply, but apply in moderation. Consider family med, consider peds. Yeah, these two specialties के जो हैं वो usually visa requiring ज़्यादा होते हैं in the soap list. Once those are shortlisted, then you can start applying. SOAP के 4 rounds होते हैं. You can apply to total 45 programs in total, not only in round 1 and then 45 in round 2. ऐसा नहीं है. You have 45 slots all over. So my recommendation is always के give it your all. पहली बार में apply to all 45 programs, because a lot of people do कि वो 30 apply करते हैं, then they wait for round 1 to end and see कि क्या क्या और spots बचे हैं, and then they apply more. I wouldn't recommend that, because I would recommend कि पहली बार में हर चीज़ apply कर दो, because most spots जो हैं वो पहली बार में ही ख़त्म हो जाती हैं. Like I don't remember the exact numbers, but from what I remember, जैसे हमारे वक्त में फॉर एग्जांपल अगर 5 पेज की लिस्ट थी, लाइक इट वाज अ 5 पेज लिस्ट ऑफ द एम्प्टी प्रोग्राम्स, राउंड 1 के बाद वो 1 या 1.5 पेज की बच जाती है. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द स्पॉट्स गो पहले ही राउंड में. ऑलराइट, कैन यू गो टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, Isra? Okay, so this is from the NRMP's website. You can search it and you can find it too. खुद से भी बाद में in detail you can read this, but this is very very helpful. जो every hour के हिसाब से आपको soap process and soap timeline बताएगा. So like I mentioned, March 16, 10 a.m. This is the US timeline, so it's Eastern time. So SOAP is gonna start. Applicants are gonna learn अपने email से if you're SOAP eligible or not, or if you matched or not. And then can you go to the next slide, Isra? And then yes, so March 17, subah, since 8 a.m. programs are yeah. Programs are gonna start reviewing the SOAP application. So when you apply to SOAP, you cannot change your ERA CV, but you can definitely tweak your personal statement. Like if your personal statement in the main match was, for example, PEDS heavy, and you did not match in match, and now you want to apply to PEDS IM FM, don't send the same personal statement which is very PEDS heavy to internal med and family med, because वो पढ़ेंगे तो and they will know कि this is your second choice, and obviously वो भी soap में ही है, but you want to try your absolute best. So tweak your personal statement, ज़्यादा नहीं, but like remove all of the, जैसे for example peds हटा के medicine कर दो. अगर कोई child case या pediatric case mention किया हुआ है उसको हटा के कोई adult case अपने house job से या med school से लिख दो. Same for internal med versus family med. If your PS is very internal med heavy and like ICU, you want to do pulmonary or critical care kind of heavy, then and you're applying to family med, tweak that. Like add a paragraph about like working for the community, like providing healthcare to everybody. Add a paragraph about that. So, and that really helps, like that one paragraphs and everything. And try personalizing too. Like I know us waqt it's a lot of emotions, but you have to keep your head calm and try personalizing your personal statements. Because remember, उस वक्त programs के पास सबकी आ रही होंगी, everybody is gonna just like एक उसमें एक kind of like a chaos में apply कर रहा होगा, and not many people tweak their personal statements. So if you do that, if you personalize it, the program will see कि यार इस बंदे ने तो मतलब हमारे लिए अभी भी personalize किया, like इसने कितनी effort डाली है, and that actually helps, because that is I think what worked for me. So yeah. So you're gonna start applying. And then March 18 में you're gonna keep getting interviews. So soap में interviews email के through नहीं आते, या thalamus and everything नहीं होता. It's because it's like it's 2 days only. It's very like kind of like informal. They're gonna call you. So I would recommend getting a US number beforehand, because उस वक्त panic होता है, उस वक्त समझ नहीं आ रहा होता, उस वक्त like रोना भी आ रहा होता है. It's really a scary time at that point. So, match day से एक दिन पहले ही get a Skype US number. It's really cheap. You can just get वो वाला number जिसमें calls receive हो सकती हैं. Because once you get a call from the program, you can clearly on the call request that, hey, can we talk on the email, since you're out of the US and you don't have like a stable connection or anything, and you would prefer more conversation to happen over the email. And then you can also email the program directly, because एक बार program ने आपको contact कर लिया, then you can contact the program too over the email. So it's okay if you get the number जिसमें सिर्फ एक site से calls आ सकती हैं, because that's the cheapest. But I would recommend try के get like a good line. लेकिन if finances is a problem for you, just get something you can receive a call and you can tell the program that yes, you are interested in the interview and you would like to continue more conversation on the email. Yeah. All right. So उसके बाद it's
Do
yes.
you want me to proceed?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, yes, that's what I was gonna tell you. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Okay, so this is soap round one. So at 9 a.m. you're gonna start receiving round one offers. So हर round में maximum 4 offers आती हैं. It's not written here, but हमारे वक्त में ये था, so maybe they're changing because this is 2026 का. It's not written here, so maybe अब ज़्यादा आती हूँ. But I'm telling you from my time. But you're gonna get round one में offers, and please do not be one of those के तीनों offers आई, तीनों अच्छी नहीं लगी, and you want to wait for more. This is not the time to be choosy. This is not the time to be picky. जो जितनी offers आई हैं उसमें choose the best one, जिसमें जाना है, जो सबसे अच्छी है, and then go for it and accept it. The moment you accept a soap offer, congratulations, you're matched, you're out of this, you're gonna be soap ineligible, and you don't have to go through round two, round three, round four. So don't be that person कि अगर एक वो आई है सिर्फ interview and you wanna wait for round two, round three, because like I said, most spots round one में ही खत्म हो जाते हैं, and round two, round three, round four तक बहुत कम बात आगे जाती है. So yeah, and each round is of 2 hours. Like 9 a.m. पे एक round start होगा, 11 a.m. पे round खत्म. You have 2 hours to accept or reject the offer. Now, उस वक्त usually in Pakistan, it's like the middle of the night, or and you only have 2 hours. So उस वक्त, I know it's really hard to like, it's hard, but you have to stay up. You have to keep checking your email because it's only a 2 hour window, and you don't want to sleep through an interview invite and have it expire. Because once round one ends, either you accept an offer, either you reject an offer, and if you don't do anything, the offer expires. So stay up, get some coffee, किसी के साथ like have, अगर नींद आ रही है, take a nap, have your sister or your mom keep an eye on your email. It's a hard time, but the good thing is it's only 2 to 3 4 days. इससे ज़्यादा की नहीं, इससे ज़्यादा का नहीं होता. And then round two is also pretty similar to round one. If you didn't get an offer in round one, just keep an eye on round two. It's pretty similar until round four, and March 19th, पूरा दिन सिर्फ के 4 rounds होते हैं. Each round is like I mentioned, 2 hours. जिसमें बारी बारी आपके पास offers आएंगी. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So yes, this is the soap round four. रात के 8:30 पे, like Eastern time, it's finished. अब फिर 9 बजे soap ends. उसके बाद जो है कोई ऐसे स्पॉट्स बचते नहीं हैं. देयर समथिंग नोन एज स्क्रैबल और स्क्रैम्बल. आई डोंट नो मच अबाउट इट, बट फ्रॉम व्हाट आई नो आई थिंक जो स्पॉट्स बचते हैं यू कैन नॉट अप्लाई टू देम थ्रू इरास और एनआरएमपी. यू हैव टू like separately email the program and apply. I don't know anybody who's gotten successful in that, but from what I know, 9 baje so ends, and then next day everybody finds out where they matched, and you hopefully would already know where you matched because you are gonna get an interview. And so, okay, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so this is the like these are the highlights. ये मुझे like 100% ये वाली चीजें याद आ रही थी which I did and did not do, and they really really helped. Number one, as I mentioned, get a US number, guys. उस वक्त it's really really panicky, it's chaotic. पहले से लेके रख लो. There's no harm in it. Google के थ्रू भी मिलता है, Skype के थ्रू भी मिलता है. There are a lot of apps जिसमें international calling हो सकती हैं. You can, if you have like a latest phone, you can get an US key eSIM. Like there are a lot of ways to get a US number. Second point, we already talked about it. Change your personal statement a little according to the specialty you're applying. Do not, please do not send a PEDS personal statement to a family med program or internal med personal statement to a family med program, because programs do can like filter through it. And the thing is that programs के पास पूरे 10 spots नहीं होते, 11 spots नहीं होते कि they can, like they can फिर भी ले लेंगे or something. Programs have like one spot and two spot, and they have a lot, still a lot of applicants, like um 40 50 applicants honge or एक spot hoga. So your soap is still very 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 competitive, so you have to still give it your best, even if you're feeling like tired, you're feeling exhausted, you feel beaten, but you still have to give your best for like 2 more days because it can be worth it in the end. Third point, please apply to only visa sponsoring programs. Programs को अच्छे से search करो. You don't want your spots to be like you don't want your spots to be wasted. 45 programs में अगर 5 programs में ऐसे apply कर दिया जिसमें visa नहीं जो देते, that's like a waste of like जाया हुआ आपका वो. So please only apply to visa sponsoring programs. बल्कि उनकी जाके resident list देखो, and if it's like filled with IMGs तो वहाँ definitely apply करो. और कोई ऐसा प्रोग्राम है जो सिर्फ ऑन पेपर लिखा हुआ है कि यस वो J1 देते हैं, बट उनकी पूरी रेजिडेंट लिस्ट में सारे US ग्रेजुएट्स भरे हुए हैं, इट मीन्स के it's not on their priority. So I would recommend के visa sponsoring or IMG friendly programs को at the very very top रखो, even if it's not from your like first choice specialty, but if your goal is to match, then you have to make that compromise. Last point, apply to all 45 programs in round one. I would highly like, I know बहुत सारे लोग कहते हैं कि keep some spot, like keep some spots, yeah, keep some applications for round two, round three, round four. It's not worth it. Most of the spots get filled in round one. You don't want to lose your chance. Things not to do. Don't contact any program. This is on the NRMP's website. It's written in bold. You cannot send any letter of intent. You cannot email the program coordinator, the program director. कोई यूएस का सोर्स भी निकल आया उस प्रोग्राम में, किसी के चाचा मामा ताया कोई जानने वाले अटेंडिंग है उस प्रोग्राम में, स्टिल प्लीज डू नॉट टेक दैट रिस्क. इट्स ऑन द एनआरएमपीज वेबसाइट एंड इट्स रिपोर्टेबल. प्रोग्राम ने अगर नहीं रिपोर्ट किया तो उनकी बहुत भलाई होगी, बट इफ दे डू रिपोर्ट यू दैट दिस कैंडिडेट contacted us during so before the like interview part, it can get you expelled from the NRMP soap process. So please do not risk it. चाहे कोई भी आपको कह ले कि ओ हाँ हमारा दोस्त है यहाँ पे अटेंडिंग, ईमेल करके देख लो, डू नॉट टेक दैट रिस्क. या अनलेस द प्रोग्राम कॉन्टैक्ट्स यू फर्स्ट. एक बार आपको प्रोग्राम ने कॉन्टैक्ट कर लिया फॉर एन इंटरव्यू, उसके बाद यस, उसके बाद इट्स ऑल गुड. यू कैन ईमेल द प्रोग्राम कोऑर्डिनेटर, प्रोग्राम डायरेक्टर और whatever is comfortable. And then the last point being, don't apply to only IM programs in SOAP. From my circle, जिन जिन लोगों ने सोप किया, बहुत आई थिंक कम लोग हैं जिन्होंने IM में सोप किया, बिकॉज IM के जो यूजुअली स्पॉट्स होते हैं, लाइक आई मेंशन, दे आर नॉट वीज़ा एक्सेप्टिंग, और वो वाले होते हैं विच आर लाइक HCA programs. So HCA programs are famous for being visa accepting on paper, like on their websites, but they rarely do so. Like बहुत केस बाय केस पे 3 साल में एक ले लिया, दो ले लिया, बट इट्स लिटरली उनकी वेबसाइट पे लिखा होता है, बट नहीं आते वहां से इंटरव्यूज. वीव ऑल लर्न दिस द हार्ड वे. सो प्लीज डोंट अप्लाई ओनली टू IM programs. FM और PEDS में भी करो. And if you're like if you're a surgical candidate, like if you're applying surgery, please bhar ke prelim or transitional year mein apply karo. Categorical spots, I know it's everybody's dream, but kabhi kabhi thoda sa mushkil path lena padta hai, especially if you're an IMG. Things are harder for us, so please apply to prelim or transitional year programs too. I think that's
That's
all for me.
awesome. Thank you so much, Anusha. This was so helpful. I feel like I learned so many things
Yeah.
that I did not know about. I think one of the things that is absolutely critical is remembering the timeline. It's so confusing once you come to the US. We're all in different time zones. Like, I think you two are in Eastern, I'm in Mountain Time right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm in
it
Eastern.
right. So it can really, really differ. And especially the match happens after we have the daylight savings where we spring
Mm-hmm.
forward an hour. So like if everyone's used to the 12-hour Pakistan
Yeah.
from me it's 12 hours
Yeah.
to Pakistan, and for you guys it's probably 10 hours. Then you just have to remember, okay, hum log ek
Yeah.
ghante aage ja rahe hain this weekend. So all
And
right,
then you can always like up सबके phone में clock
yeah,
की app होती है,
everyone.
world
Yeah,
clock होती है. Just put New York City उसमें, that's Eastern time.
totally.
जो
Yeah.
भी लिखा हुआ है, like you can अपने notes की ऐप में लिख लो कि अच्छा अगर 9 AM पे round 1 start होगा तो मेरे उस वक्त ये बज रहे होंगे. Like make पहले से पूरा लिख के रख लो, and जो भी सोप की टाइमलाइन है उसमें से 8 AM 9 AM को काट काट के अपने टाइम पे लिखना शुरू कर दो, ताकि उस वक्त कैलकुलेट ना करना पड़े.
Perfect. This is great. Thank you so much.
Do you
Awesome.
have any questions from you guys?
I think we're good. And since this is a recorded webinar, we'll have opportunity to for everyone to ask questions from the panelists, from the speakers, and we will probably open up the chat to everyone who's speaking, and hopefully we'll get our questions answered at
All
that
right.
time.
All right. Good.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Anusha. Appreciate it. All right, and we'll next move to our next speaker. It's Dr. Ali Khalid. He is a Khalik, sorry. He is an anesthesiology resident in New York. Ali, you can take it away.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak. So, the topic I'm discussing today is about navigating the US visa for international medical graduates. Uh, the topic it's very close to me because I am someone who got 8 time visa rejections before finally ended up being matched. So I had like 7 times B1 B2 visa rejection for step 2 CS, and one time I got J1 research visa rejection. I remember I got selected in University of Arizona surgical research, and they told me that we will be sponsoring you once you complete your 1 year research, and then we will definitely take you as a resident, and so many promises, but I didn't get that visa as well. So yeah, so this topic is very close to my heart. Plan B is something which is like, it's in my blood. I can talk about it anytime. So yeah, let's move on to the
We
next
are
slide.
happy to have you here. We will get
Thank you.
started.
So yeah,
Awesome.
the first question: why visas are important for an IMG? The visa is the most important thing, right? Because it acts as a gateway, to land into GME and graduate medical education. Like as a resident, visa is very important for fellowships. You need visa. I'll talk about the different types of visa we'll be needing for these spots, right? We can do some hands-on, if we have, for example, J1 clinical, we can do our residency there. And for job as well, if you do not have green card, you still need a visa, to start your job. Next, please. So I divided this presentation into different chapters. The first chapter is getting in. Like this was the most difficult chapter for me, right? So the first thing that all of us, we aim to come to the US for step 3 exam right now, and step 3 requires a visa, right? Previously we used to write step 2 CS in the US, and for that we will be requiring visas, and not only that, if you want to come to US for observerships, externships, internships, right, you still need visa. So B1 B2 is the visa that you aim for, right? Keep in mind that this is strictly, you cannot have any hands on in this, right? You cannot get any money from any employer on this. So this is completely non-employment. It's a simply visitor visa. You can aim like business visitor visa. So you come here, you can do observership only. You can attend interviews. You can write your exam. You can attend some conferences. Make sure you do not violate the rules. related to this visa, because this is something many people do mistake on. I know some people who come on B1 B2 visa, and they open their bank accounts, and they do not read that some of the bank account they require monthly fees to maintain their account, right? If there is not a certain amount of balance, or there is no paycheck coming, and because they do not know that this, so they keep this becomes a red flag on their passport. And there's so many people, they struggle on this point as well. So make sure whatever you are doing on B1 B2, you know the rules and you adhere to it, right? Other than this, to get into US, there are other pathways as well. Like for some people, they can come on F1 visa. F1 is like a student visa. You can come on it and you can do your MPH, you can do research masters, right? You can come on J1 research scholar visa, where you can come, any university, if they hire you, you can come and do your research. But make sure you know the rules. Whatever visa you are using to come into the US, you stick to the rules and you follow the rules. Otherwise, it will be a big violation, and you will be hindering your future chances. Yep. Yep. Next, please. So yeah, training. So now, let's say you got your B1 B2 visa. You were able to go, write your step 3 exam. You got, or step 2 CS in the past. You did some observership on B1 B2. Now is the time that you are applying for the match. And most of the people who are matched, they are either hired on J1 clinical visa or H1 temporary, H1B temporary worker visa. Now, J1 physician visa is basically exchange visitor visa. It is sponsored by ECFMG, not by your program. The requirements are straightforward. Step one, your step two CK, ECFMG certification, right? Obviously, your residency offer from an ACGME accredited institute, right? And this visa is renewed year to year depending on the length of your training. Right. On the other hand, next please. Yeah. The pros. So this visa, it is widely available, J1 visa, because it is sponsored by your H1. Right. Programs are familiar with it. They are comfortable with it because the program themselves, they are not paying for it. ECFMG is the one who is sponsoring you. Renewal is easy while you are in residency. The problem with J1 is there's a thing called, or caveat, which is called 2 year home country rule, right? So anyone who is on J1 visa, they will be very familiar with this. That if you have completed your residency, then you have to go back to your country and complete 2 year there, and then you can come back. To bypass this 2 year constraint, there's a thing called waiver. You have to find waiver, and the waiver is usually in a underserved area or health physician shortage area, where if you're able to find it, then you can stay. But then again, yeah, to bypass this, this is the only way. Otherwise, there's no other method to overcome the 2 year rule. Okay, next please. On the other hand, some people, they can get hired for residency or fellowship on H1B temporary visa. So H1B is a dual intent visa. The good thing about H1B is it is immune to 214B rejection. The previous visas I talked about, B1, B2, or J1 research, or J1 clinical, or F1, they all can be refused on the basis of 214B, which means you do not have strong home country ties. On the other hand, H1B visa is a visa which is immune to it. So the consulate cannot reject you on the basis of 214B. That is for sure. So this is kind of, because it's a dual intent visa, it's a stronger visa, program is paying for it, right? That is why it is more difficult to get this visa as well. And nowadays the programs are a little bit reluctant to sponsor because of recently ongoing changes and the ongoing fees associated with this kind of visa. But still, some programs still are, they are taking this bet. It is difficult, but not impossible. The requirements are same: step one, step two, but here you need step three as well. For J1 clinical, step three is not a mandatory requirement. I mean, if you have done it, that's good. If the program is not sponsoring you a step this H1B, you can definitely get J1. Having step three gives you an advantage. If you are looking for H1 and the program is willing to sponsor you, you can get H1, right? And usually, once the petition for H1B is filed and approved, it is the petition is valid for 3 years. So You can legally stay into the US for 3 years, although the paper visa stamp which they give you on your passport will be 1 year. And every time after a year, if you are going out of US, you have to get another paper visa stamp. So this is one problem on the Pakistani passport. For the Indian passport, they give usually for 3 years as well, so they can uh, you know cross the country and come back 3 for 3 years. There's not a problem for them. For us, it's because the paper stamp is only for 1 year. Every time we go out of the country for 1 year, we have to get a visa stamp. So this is something to keep in mind. And H1B is to maximum renewal is allowed is for 6 years. After that, your sponsor, your employer has to file your green card, which we'll talk about in a short while. Next, please. Now, pros. The good thing about H1B is there is no such thing as a 2 year home residency requirement. There is no such thing that you have to find a waiver. So this is, as I said, it's a dual intent visa, right? Because dual intent mean you can pursue green card while you're on H1B. So this saves time, this saves your effort and energy if you're on H1B. Okay. And yeah, when you are on H1, you can do moonlight within your employer circle. This is something which people sometimes confuse. So when you are while you're on H1, you can only receive one tax form W2, and it should be by your only employer. If your employer, for example, let's say my employer is New York City Health and Hospital, and they have 10 different hospitals in their umbrella. So if my program allow me to moonlight in any of their hospital, I will still receive W2, which is a tax form from the same employer, NYCHLC. So in this way, you are allowed to do moonlighting, but you cannot do moonlighting for someone else. Keep in mind, you're not allowed to receive multiple W2s unless someone else file your another petition for you, which is highly unlikely. So keep that in mind. This is something people are not aware about, and they are prone to get make this error. And you should also not receive another tax form like 1099, or there are multiple caveats, but you should that's why I said the first thing you should know is the rules about your visa, what is allowed and what is not allowed. So on H1B, single W2 is allowed, the tax form, rest of it is not allowed. Your only employer can issue you a tax form. That's the most important thing. The cons, as I said, step three is mandatory to get a H1B visa. Without step three, you cannot get H1B. Uh, High fees recently introduced. I think last year only, the end of last year, the new administration introduced $100,000 fees for this visa, which is why many programs are now reluctant to issue this, especially to the residents. Maybe for the attendings, they are still willing to take this bet. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind. This, even if you have done step three nowadays, maybe this program still wants you to get J1. So yeah, another important thing about H1 is the cap exempt and cap subject thing. So what it means is every year H1B is issued. For example, a limit. There's a limit on H1B. Let's say I'm not sure about the number, but for the whole US there are 75,000 slots all over the world, right? And these are all cap subject. So and they go into lottery, and some of the companies will be picked up, some of them will not be picked up. But for usually for the residency program and fellowship programs, they are kept exempt, meaning that they are either non-profit organization, or they are maybe teaching hospitals. So if they have such affiliations, they become cap exempt, and you will not be undergoing any lottery. If the program is sponsoring you H1, most likely it will be cap exempt, which is a good news. So you will not be subject to cap subject thing. So yeah, for residents, the key takeaway, if you are on J1 visa, it's still not a big problem. You can easily find the waiver jobs. Once you complete your 2 year waiver, you can easily then pursue your H1B pathway, because waiver is actually your H1, right? So once you have done your waiver, then you can pursue the green card pathway. Your employer will be sponsoring you. So yeah, but stick to the policies of the visa. Know what you are doing and how you are doing. Next, please. Then chapter three, I put it as serving, meaning that now you have completed your residency, now you have completed your fellowship, now you're looking for a job, for example. Now, at this point in time, if you're on J1, you are subject to 2 year rule, right? Now you have to find the waiver. So there are multiple pathways to get the waiver, and to bypass it. One of the very famous, and most of the people they do, is Conrad 30 waiver, which is state based. Each state has a limited supply of waiver slots. Like, I'm in New York, I know some of my colleagues who are on J1. They told me that there's only 30 number of slots of uh, J1 waivers. So in whole of the New York state. So that is why you have to make sure that you are applying broadly, not only in one state, in other state as well, because there will be a chance that you will not get waiver in one state, you may get in another state. Um, so yeah, there are other pathways like federal government agency waivers, meaning that if you are able to get a job in a VA affiliated institute, then also it acts as a waiver, because these are usually medically underserved, or HPSA. HPSA means health physician shortage areas. I will talk about it in detail in the next couple of slides. And there are some hardship areas. So there are multiple pathways, but make sure you do this research ahead of time, 1 year ahead of time, before getting into a time when you're starting a waiver. Next, please. Yeah. As I said, next, please. I already talked about it. Mhm. Yeah. So this is a website which is like critical to find. Some people they keep searching for it, so I have already pasted it, and if you want, we can share it with you. So this is the USCIS HRSA portal, where, for example, if you are looking on for some hospitals, and you want to make sure that is if this hospital is medically underserved, or if this hospital is health physician shortage area, then what you can do, you can simply put the address of that hospital into this website on this page, and it will tell you that if your hospital is MUA or HPSA, and it can also give you a number of how strong how strong that hospital or that community is, HPSA or MUA. Like, I'll show you in the next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this slide, I just tried to search my own hospital. So as you can see in this slide, I put the address of the hospital in the previous screen, and it showed me that, yeah, this hospital is medical underserved. It wrote there yes. This hospital is SPSA, it wrote there yes. Right, and it gave me the number as well, how strong it is. What is the strength of this? What does it mean? It means that if you apply for a waiver for this hospital, there will be a very high chance for approval. It's a very strong, a place which is really underserved. And I also want to tell you that most people think that waiver job means it will be in some rural areas where no one is going, right? This address which I have searched here, it's in Manhattan. So this hospital is basically is in the heart of Manhattan, East Harlem, but it's still medically underserved and HPSA. So what I want to tell you is that it doesn't mean like if waiver means that it will be in rural area, no man's land, no one is going there. It can be in a big city as well. The waiver or MUA category and listing depends on how poor the area is or what kind of community is there, right? So they designated it on that, and socioeconomic status, multiple factors. So yeah, it can be anywhere. Next, please. Now we talked about J1. Now for H1. So H1B you can get once you're done with your J1 waiver, or if you are able to get H1B during your residency or fellowship, or via your alternate pathway, you are on already on H1, then your employer, new job, whoever is your sponsor, will transfer your H1B. The good thing is that if you are already on H1 currently, then the transfer of H1B, there is no 100,000 fees affiliated with it, right? That 100,000 fee is only for the new, filing. That 100,000 fee is not applicable to the transfer of H1B. So this is something we should be aware of. Now, as I said, this is employer sponsored, specialty occupation, right? Dual intent visa, 6 year limit. These are something which we should be aware of. Single W2 should come, no multiple W2s, right? Other sort of visa, on which you can get job is O1 extraordinary, ability visas. This is for those physicians who are like, very strong academically, or whose research credential are like extraordinary. They have multiple publication, presentation, awards, and some people they are taking this route if for example they are coming on new H1, but the employer is not willing to sponsor it because of the fees associated with it, so they can come on O1 extraordinary visa during that time. So this visa can act as a bridge until the other visa is sorted. Right. Next, please. Then, chapter 4 is the permanent status. So far, you survived. So you were able to find the waiver slot. You were able to maintain your H1B status. Now it is a time to look for how you will keep that status, right? As I said, H1B is you cannot renew it after 6 years, except in certain situations. So after 6 year, your employer has to file your green card petition, right? Now there are multiple types of, and these are called employer based petition, EB2, EB1. There are multiple of them. The one that your employer will be sponsoring and filing for you is called EB2 perm pathway. Right. So the hospital will file your EB2. This is called a perm, and they have to, make sure that no one in the US is capable of this spot. For example, they will do some job postings, and then they will hire you. And if you get it, it's a long process. Once they file, it still will take some 3 to 4 years. But once your EV2 perm is filed, once your I-140 is filed, then your H1B can be renewed for like numerous amount of time. So, but they have to file it, right? So, what I want to say, the initial H1B is only for 6 years. Before the end of 6 year, your employer has to file perm I-140. Once it is filed and approved, I-140 is approved, then you can renew your H1B for multiple number of times until your priority date become current, and then you can file your adjustment of status. That is a different topic. Another category of EB2 is national interest waiver for physicians. This pathway is not dependent on your labor certification or your employer specifically. However, this pathway wants that one second. However, this pathway wants to make sure that wherever you are going for a job is medically underserved and HPSA, health physician shortage area. It's not similar to waiver job. However, in order to be eligible for national interest waiver, they want a 5 year commitment in an area which is medically underserved or VA or HPSA. Right. The good thing is if you have a 5 year contract from such a place, and you can file your I-140 yourself as well. You don't need a petitioner. You can be yourself a petitioner for this, and once you complete 5 year, you are eligible to get the green card. So this is something which some people look, and there's a trick which I came to know. I want to share the trick. The trick is, if you are applying for EB pathways, EB2 perm, make sure you tell your employer to file NIW as well. You will be paying for the NIW. So now the thing is, if they are willing to file NIW ahead of time, and if the priority date becomes current, you can port that priority date of NIW to the perm pathway, and this saves a lot of time. So this is one trick that I came to know from multiple attorneys, and here in New York they are doing this. So keep in mind that porting can be done within the same category of EB2. So NIW uh, priority date of I-140 can be ported to perm EB2. So this is something which you should be aware of. Next, please. Yeah, then other categories for EB are the EB1A, EB1B. EB1A is for some, those people who are like who have some extraordinary, abilities. For example, they have multiple publication, multiple citations, awards, leadership. This is something which you can apply if you are on H1B in your residency, and if you have multiple publication and citation, you can get your EB1A approved during your residency. You are not dependent on any employer for this. Here you are dependent on your skills. So if you are highly skilled, meaning that you have multiple publications, good number of citations, then you can take advantage from this pathway. This is like a luxury pathway. What you just want is like your primary H1B from your employer, or your residency employer or fellowship employer, and then your own skills will help you. You can file your EB1A and you can enjoy. Then you can self-sponsor yourself, and your once your priority date is near, then you can file your adjustment of status and can get the green card. So these are certain categories you should be aware of. Next, please. Yeah. Now, after talking a lot about all of these type of visas, I want to just tell you some practical tips. Make sure whatever program you are checking, always make sure that they are visa friendly. Don't assume that they will be applying your visa. Make sure you see the current applicants, current residents or fellows or people who are working there in the hospital, in that facility, if they are really visa sponsoring or no. Um, Build relationships, advocate for your needs. Make sure you start all these process ahead of time. Make sure you are starting these things like at least 1 year ahead of time. Each step one year ahead, right? And these rules keep evolving. As I said, recently they introduced 100,000 on H1B, right? So make sure you keep yourself up to date, you keep yourself current, you keep checking USCIS website, ECFMG, AMA, and your video immigration attorney if you're in residency. And yeah, luck favor the brave. I got it after 8 attempts, and I hope everyone will eventually end up getting their visas. Um, if not soon, I'm someone visa. I still remember the consulate officer. She told me on my seventh or eighth interview, which was the last one. She told me that stop applying now, or you are digging the grave of your visa now. So it was at that time when I really got disheartened and stopped applying for like next 3 years. I went to Qatar and did my other stuff. So yeah, luck favors the brave. Keep persistence is the key. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ali. This was so appreciated. Your insight is so great. I've gone through a lot of this stuff and I still feel like I don't remember any of it. So this was a great reminder. I hope
Thank you.
everyone has found it super helpful. And we have more topics ahead related to Plan B if you don't match. So please stay tuned.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, questions are welcome. Any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, so let's continue. I'd like to introduce my co-moderator, Asra Nayab, who is going to be moderating the rest of the session. Welcome, Dr. Nayab.
Thank you so much. This is Dr. Asra Nayab. I am currently in Las Vegas. I'm a neuroradiologist, and I have the honor of introducing Dr. Adil Siddiqui today and a few other speakers for this session. Dr. Adil Siddiqui is a pediatric hospital. He practices pediatric hospital medicine. Um, Actually, I take that back. He's a fellow in pediatric hospital medicine at UT Houston. Dr. Adil Siddiqui, the mic is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Asrabaji. You're right, actually. I will be practicing pediatric hospital medicine in 6 months. I graduate and I'll be joining as faculty. This is my second year of fellowship. I did my pediatric residency at SUNY Upstate, and before that, I was a graduate of Dove in 2018. My topic today is to talk about how to improve your CV after you do not match. Now, we know that many excellent physicians do not match on the first attempt. This is more true for international graduates. Some US graduates also do not match, but the whole idea is that the pathway to residency is not linear for everybody. The question here is not that whether you had a setback, but what you do within the next 10 months that sets you apart. So today I want to discuss how you can turn this unmatched year into the strongest part of your CV. There, my first point would be to, when you're thinking, for anybody who is thinking of improving your CV after not matching, just try to think about what weaknesses you had in your resume, in your ERAS application, just identifying that and then going from there. That this is a very honest self-assessment that you need to do here and try to figure out what you can improve in the next 12 months, or say like 10 months, what you can improve on. Just some questions to ask yourself. Now, like, were my USMLE scores competitive enough? We know they're not the end of the world. There are some modifiable factors. There are some non-modifiable factors that you can improve your CB on. USMLE scores are not one, but you can always take step 3, and we'll talk more about that, how important that is. You need to ask yourself if your U.S. clinical experience were ample enough, strong enough. Were you able to get letter of recommendations from that were strong? You should be able to know if you had good rapport when you were doing these clinical experiences, if they were recent or they need to be updated. The fourth question that you really need to ask yourself is if you applied broadly enough. For a lot of international graduates, like it's not unheard of to apply to 100 programs, and that is okay. I know USMLE match. It's an expensive process out there, but we just need to make sure that if you haven't matched at one time, you need to apply broadly enough. You're not applying to just, if you're especially in a competitive specialty, you need to make sure that you're just applying very broadly. And then the last question really is to ask if you have enough research or academic work, because that is what fills your ERAS application, and that is what makes the uh, reviewer understand if this is something that they will work with. Where are you coming from? What are your skills? I When you're identifying your weaknesses, I would advise, my biggest advice would be to find a mentor. Dogana is here for you to find a mentor who is a resident that can review your ERAS application. It needs both of you to sit together, identify just 2 or 3 areas that might need some improvement, and that is where you work on. The most important message here is that this unmatched year that you are, it should show progress. It should show growth, what you did in these few months. Now, this is where I talk about, like, sure, you've identified your weakness, but how do you strengthen your CV? There are a lot of areas where you can improve, like I already talked about. But the US clinical experience, I feel like, is the most important one for us international medical graduates. They need to know if the reviewers, the program directors need to know that the applicant has been through an environment where they have been evaluated, rather from a tangential point, but like they need to know if the person has been evaluated and learned the US clinical experience. Now there are a couple of options you can get US clinical experience. Do observerships, do clinical volunteer work, do research, like find research positions that has some clinical exposure. If you have some extern opportunity for externship, like find that. But just the goal is to understand the US healthcare system, and the obvious goal is to obtain strong US letter of recommendations. Here I would say, like, yeah, I see a lot of like posts within our Facebook group also, like, I have five clinical experience in scheduled in 3 months. My advice would be to find 2 meaningful rotations. Find good academic centers where you have meaningful rotations, and mentors or preceptors that will write a good, hopefully you can build a good rapport with, to find a good letter of recommendation. Do clinical volunteer work. Now clinical volunteer work is tricky, because I don't know if you will find a person who will approve your visa for that. But if you have a B1 B2 visa, if you can find what is clinical volunteer work, it could be research. It would be just like your time that is unpaid, but you're helping out. It really could be anything. You could be trained in ACLS and help become an EMT. You could help somebody collect data for an academic center, but it's just clinical volunteer work that I feel like will build your CV. The other thing I would talk about is just research and academic productivity. Now, what research does here is it shows commitment to academic medicine. What we all can go into non-academic medicine after we are finished with residency, but the idea of like doing residency is that you're committed to academic medicine, and that is what research shows. It does not trump clinical experience. It does not trump good letter of recommendations, but it what it does is it builds mentorship. It builds networking opportunities where you can find uh, uh, all the prior experiences, opportunities that you mentioned. Now, the strategies to find a research and academic options are to just work with residents, fellows, your Dogana mentors, join these ongoing projects. Just this is something that the interns, like residents, they're also trying to get their hands on. So just try to find anything where you can get plugged in. Try to write case reports. Try to write systematic reviews. Now, systematic reviews does not, they do not need a lot of. They do not need a lot of support, but what you just need is a mentor that is good in doing research, and you can just collect a lot of research, already published literature, and do a systematic review. The goal, a realistic goal, is to have a publication or two by the end. And then a more realistic goal is if you can get a conference poster, if you can get an abstract selected for a conference. We don't think about, and I did not do that when I was a medical student applying for residency. But like now that I completed my residency and fellowship, there's so much networking happening in these conferences. If you know you're getting into pediatrics, go to AAP, go to PAS. Like, I'm in pediatrics, so I know more about that. But like there are these generic conferences that you can just like publish your case reports, submit your case reports. And I come back to say this is an expensive process, but this takes money. But this is something that you can do to build your CV. Um, like I said, research helps build mentorship and networking opportunities, and networking can make a major difference. What it helps with is it allows you to stay in touch with the physicians that you work with when you are actually applying for residency. What is the how do you network? Networking is awkward. Networking is uh, it takes a lot. You have to put yourself out there. But I would say what you need to do is reach out to your alumni, like Dogana, DMC, just graduates, Dow graduates already in US residency programs. Obviously we're busy, but like if we can find that, if you send us a little paragraph about like what you're looking into, just a little paragraph about like what you're applying for and just what your interests are, most of us are willing to help you out a little bit. And then go beyond. I mean, if you connect as a mentor and a mentee, I will tell you, like, I learn a lot from my mentees also. So if I connect with a good mentee, I want to keep that, building that relationship forward. What mentors can do is we can review your CV, we can guide your specialty choice. You're thinking about pediatrics here. I mean, within pediatrics, you can do child neurology, you can do med peds. Just like guiding that is what you need, and then just helping with letters of connections. Now, once I will shift gears here. I want to talk about personal statement, but I do want to talk about, now that you've not matched, how do you build your narrative for the program where they're going to ask what you did after you did not match. Your answer here should demonstrate a lot of reflection, productivity, like we talked about, and the core of it is just showing growth and progress. So it's just an example, like you can say, just after not matching, I focused on improving my clinical experience in the US healthcare system and strengthening my academic profile through research. This is just like, you can expand on that. You can build upon that in the personal statement. Just like programs want to see that you used this year intentionally and you improve your application. What you do not want is a long gap with just no clear activity. So, all in all, this is the stuff that you do. I think what you need to also work on is a strategy that works best for the next cycle. So, if you apply for too few programs, just apply to a few more. Don't apply to just highly competitive programs. If you think, and I discourage my mentors a lot about applying to different specialties, but if you think that your application is just not as competitive, think about an alternative specialty that might not be as competitive, or maybe easier to match into. Just don't have a weak personal statement for it. You need to prepare for this interview. A poor interview preparation just kills. Even if you have 20 interviews, it just kills the vibe when you're in there in front of the program director. Do mock interviews. This is where Dogana helps you. Have mentors review your CV and personal statement. So this would be my end of like what I want to talk about. Just my take home message would be that not matching is not it's not the end of the journey. It is a setback, but it is not the end of the journey. Use this unmatched year very strategically to strengthen your CV and just show programs, your resilience, your productivity. Your unmatched year should become the year that made your application stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Siddiqui. That was really helpful. And I would just like to add a few things here. The buzzword is reflection. You know, when you don't get what you set out to achieve, it's a delay. You know, rejection is redirection. So assess yourself. Reflection is so very important. What did I do in this past year? What did not work for me? These things are important. And then so you know, we all know that the effort is never wasted. You know, if you have put in an effort in your life, at some point it will come back to you. You will be paid for it. It's never wasted. So don't think that this was a total bust and you wasted your life, you wasted your time. It's not the end of the world. People match after 5 cycles, after 6 or 7 cycles too. Even I know someone who matched after 9 cycles. And just like Dr. Siddiqui mentioned, just beef up your resume and see what works for you. What worked for me may not work for you, you know, because our paths are not the same. You may be applying to the same specialty as your mentor, but what worked for them did not work for you, and that's okay. You may have a different trajectory. You know, it's not always from point A to point B. Sometimes you go from point A to C and then to B. So take it easy on yourself and reflect and do things with, you know, with positive attitude, with a positive attitude, and lots of duas for yourself, of course. All right. So our next
Asra, I do have
speaker.
a comment over here.
Yeah,
This is Gulrez. I have been part of the YPC for many years at this point. I do feel people should take some time off, reflect on it. But gaining experience in Pakistan is not a bad idea either. Being back in training, doing FCPS or completing your house job and then coming back is not a bad idea either. It is a
absolutely.
structured learning experience that you can build on. And it also helps you have backup options. Because me, Asra, Adil, nobody can guarantee you a match at the end of the day. Match is beyond a lot of people's control. So having that option, like, you can do FCPS for 2 years and then you can apply for fellowship in US. So I think you need to think things through and also try to have a backup, and going back to training is not a bad option either to consider if you're in those circumstances.
That's great. Thank you, Gulrez, for adding that. That's a very important point. You know, we undermine house job in Pakistan so much. But I'll tell you from my perspective, a lot of my classmates went for match the year they got done with MBBS. I wasn't still sure what I wanted to do. You know, despite what everyone else said, it was just not making sense to me. So I actually decided to do house job and stayed back. So I graduated from Dow in 2012, but I decided to stay back. I did my house job there, and then I, you know, kind of figured out that okay, I want to do radiology. It sounds good. And then I started my application process. I started residency in 2016. So it's okay to do that analysis, you know, take a step back, assess yourself. What do you want to do? Following the bandwagon may not be the best thing to do and may end up, you know, like a waste of money. All right. Um, all right. If no one else is, anyone else has any opinions here or views or suggestions to add, or I
I'm
can
an
go ahead and
older
introduce.
crop. I'm like 10 years plus out of training. So, but like back when I applied for the match, it was such a flip-flop coin toss getting into residency that everyone did their house job. Like I do not know of many people who didn't. I did my house job. I did my CPCS part one. And my idea was
Wow.
if I didn't match, I'd just come back and get into a residency. And then we'll see what happens and how it pans out. But it worked out. So yeah, it's absolutely imperative to keep options open and don't undermine the importance of house job, and those like Jolly certificates don't count. Sorry. You
Yeah,
should
absolutely. Please don't do
definitely
that. So the year I was graduating, the word on the street was that don't do house job. It's a waste of
just
time.
get the
Just apply, just
fake
apply. And I was
certificate.
like, you know, I didn't even know what I wanted to do with my life, quite frankly. So I had to take a step back and I decided to do my house job instead. And that worked out really good. Honestly, I capitalized my house job so much in my interviews. I said I'm a licensed physician in Pakistan, and house job is hands-on. It's just like intern year here, right? You are responsible for your patient. There is so much more worth to it than a mere observership in USA, where you're not, touching the patient. An observership, make the most of it by making connections. That's why I always say, you may not be allowed to touch the patient and whatnot, but you are allowed to make connections. Step from one department to the other, step from one room into the other, and see who all you're meeting. And you never know, there might be someone who's willing to help you. So making connections is a good thing that can come out of observerships. But house job gives you that drill. It teaches you what to do and how to be a doctor pretty much on your own. All right.
What would you guys tell people if they have low scores? How do they come out of that? Like, I'm just like,
I can
this,
answer that. I'm a low score. I was a low score.
yeah, because
So
that's like the
yeah,
one thing.
so it's the overall picture that matters. Okay, it's never just one thing. Yes, high scores get you a leg up. They really, put you in front of the line, or up ahead. But if you don't have high scores, like I did not, make sure that your overall application looks good. And that's the reason why I really capitalized on my house job. I was like, I've done this 1 year training where I practiced I was working in plastics and reconstructive surgery. I was working in general surgery. I was working this and that. And, I know the drill. And I even went to the extent of saying this in my interview, like my scores don't define me. There's so much more that I've done in life that actually makes me the person who I am. And I literally just need an opportunity. So please give me a chance. So you have to be vocal and practice your interview skills. I am very big on interview skills. I love this topic of communication and interpersonal skills. I do not want to take the topic. I do not want to digress from. It really gets me excited. So your overall application matters. What all observations have you done? What all research that you have, and what else did you? So do not undermine your experience in Pakistan at all. Make sure you have someone who can say or who can verify that you were doing what you were saying that you were doing, and reflect and write about yourself. What are you trying to achieve in life? And if your heart is really set out on a maybe a difficult specialty like OBGYN, by all means pursue that. A lot of people told me that radiology is not the way to go, but my heart was so set on it. I was like, no, I'm going to give this a shot at the very least.
Yeah.
So be true to
That's what
yourself.
happens when you have the whole YPC panel here. You get tons of good advice. Awesome. Well, in the interest of time, we should probably keep moving. Oh, do you want to go ahead, Asra, or I'm happy to intro.
Yes. The next person we have who's with us is Dr. Mariam Zulfikar. She is a neurologist, and I will let Mariam Zulfikar take the mic from here.
Thanks, Astra. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Mariam Zulfikar. I'm a graduate of 2014, so I've been at it for a little bit now. I did my residency in Mississippi, University of Mississippi, did my fellowship in Charleston, South Carolina in stroke, and I am an attending physician at Allegheny in Pittsburgh. And we also are affiliates with Drexel College of Medicine, so I do assistant professor with that discipline. I have been tasked to talk about the research here after you don't match. I am going to start with saying that if you don't match, I echo with everybody, that's not the end of the world. I'm going to say the year that I did not match has proven to be one of the best years where I gained so much experience, where I was a very competitive applicant when I applied the year after. So I'll cut right to it. There's certain ways that you can do research. And coming to US and doing research, whether it's paid or unpaid, is an expensive journey. So I'll just do it in tier based. So if you get an opportunity to do research in the US, I think your top tier should be academic university hospital to try to get a research position over there. And we'll talk about how to approach that. The second tier would be academic affiliate. So if you're working with like a smaller community hospital, try to get research over there. They may not have big data or stuff, but sometimes they keep registry. So you're going to have enough data to kind of work on the specialty of your interest. The third option is doing research in Pakistan. I know that's that's a little difficult to get, but if you're able to get in touch with US diplomats, people who've done their residency or training in the US and have gone back to Pakistan to pursue research in their respective fields, getting in touch with them if you're unable to come to the US, whether that's visa, whether that's finances, I think that would be a very good start. I've done research in all of these three things that I've mentioned. So let's start with how to approach this. So if you don't match, give it a couple weeks to get yourself together, and like everybody said, reflect on what you think was missing in your resume this year, and try to work on it to make it better for next year. How I approach this was, and how most of the people approach this is, if you have a program that you're really interested in, and just look them up, just Google them, just look up the program, pick up your specialty of interest, and read up about that program a little bit. And then start emailing. That's something that I was doing when I did not match. I was probably sending about 50, 60 emails every night. You can send generic emails, but it actually makes your email a little better if you have researched that program a little bit and you're a little more specific about that program of interest that you're emailing them. So basically, the whole structure of the email could be around, my name is this, I graduated from this, I'm interested in this specialty, I looked up this certain project that you guys are doing at your university hospital, I would be really interested to be a part of if there's any opportunity. Just a rough draft of it. So that would be your 3 or 4 lines. And I think it helps a lot if you put some references or contact of reference in your email. Your email doesn't have to be a page long. Make your email short, 6-7 lines in an email. If it's longer than that, they may not read your email. If you've worked with some people in Pakistan, which have some connection in the US, you can just ask them, it's like, hey, I'm emailing this program. Can I put your name and contact over there just in case if they need to get in touch with you for reference? I think that helped a lot. I had people that I worked with in Pakistan that were US diplomats, and they knew people over here. Like I worked with Dr. Asha Kamal, who had people in and around the Philadelphia area. So when I put her, I asked her that, and when I put her contact in my email, they would reply to my emails, and it's like, hey, say hi to Aisha, and then, we have opportunity or we don't have opportunity. So I think that's a good icebreaker if you make it a little more personalized and you put some contact of interest over there as a reference to get in touch with. Follow up on emails. So we know that on this side of the match now, when we get emails, oftentimes we're rounding, we're on call, we look at the email and it's like, okay, I'm going to reply to it. But sometimes we forget. So it's okay to follow up on emails, let's say about a week or 2 later, that if there's a program that you're really interested in, or if there's a region in the US that you're really interested in being, just make sure that you follow up on those emails and see, it's like, hey, just following up. I had email about this. They may very well have forgotten to reply back to you, or they may have not looked at it, or it got filtered out. Sometimes that also happens. So that's as far as the US is concerned. In Pakistan, if you are interested in doing research in Pakistan, I think Ala Khan in Karachi was a very good center to begin your research work with. There are a lot of diplomats I know in neurology world, but I'm sure that in other discipline also, there are a lot of people who did their training in the US. So just go up to them. You can just let their secretary know, sit outside their office and be like, I'm interested in this research opportunity. Do you have anything that I can help with? You can email them also. That would be a good icebreaker to begin with. So that's how you would structure your email to kind of get in touch about the research opportunity. Let's talk about paid versus non-paid. I think that is a very important topic when, especially if you're coming to the US and you're getting an opportunity that is unpaid. I did an unpaid time. I'm not going to say year. I did a little bit of unpaid time in the US, in New Mexico. I was paying for my own apartment. I was paying for my own groceries. I was paying to get to and from the hospital. I should say my brother was paying for that because he was in Pakistan, and then he was sending me money to do that. That turned out to be expensive, and I decided to not continue that past 4 or 5 months. But I'm going to say well, first of all, I got 2 publications out of that research opportunity. I got contacts out of that research opportunity, and that was one of my bases to get a paid research opportunity later. There came a time when I was like, I can't afford this. So I went back to Pakistan, and then I started emailing people again because I was still kind of set on doing residency in the US. And this was all around the same time when I was preparing for my FCPS Part 1. I had already done my house job. So I was kind of working that way as well, but I was also emailing some programs to kind of see if I could get a paid opportunity this time. And I did land a paid opportunity at a very big institute over here. I think it also matters if you're working with an academic person who's a very well-known name in research, because by the time you do all of that, it may not be long enough that you're able to publish something and it's time for next season that you have to submit your application. But give it enough time where you can actually put the name of that mentor in research on your resume, which is a well-known name. That alone can be reason enough to get you interviews. So that's why I think it's very important to try your best to get an opportunity with an academic institute with a big name or a famous name in that specialty. What should you expect out of that research position? One, work etiquette. I think the first and foremost thing, especially if you're doing a non-paid research position, you don't have a lot of incentive as far as monetary value is concerned, but you are gaining experience and you're probably going to get a couple publications out of that. So make sure that you show up on time. Make yourself available. Oftentimes, like Adil mentioned about, like there's residents, there's fellows who want to publish, who wants to do research, but oftentimes they don't have the time to sit down and do that. You can actually get in touch with them and take over their project, do their data analysis, or write some portion of their manuscript for them, and then just give it to them. That way, that will give your name on that manuscript. It wasn't I mean, you don't have to do a whole lot of work. It wasn't your primary project to begin with, but at least that gives you a name on the publication. So those are some of the things, those are some of like the low-hanging fruit that you can do. If you are putting out one of your own project or own manuscript, try to aim for conferences. I know this has been talked about before, but in the neurology world, AAN, American Academy of Neurology, is like the biggest national conference. Go to those conferences. Make sure that, and those conferences usually accept like trainee abstracts pretty easily. So you should aim to actually submit your work to these conferences, and once it gets accepted, make sure you make an effort to go to these conferences. One of the biggest things to survive in medicine here in the US is networking. 1, networking, 2, networking, 3, networking. That's how you basically get around. That's how you basically, do what it is that you desire to do. So once you go to these conferences, make sure you talk to people. You can be absolutely shameless in this. I know when we come over here, we're a little hesitant. I was like, oh, what is that person going to do? If you see American medical students going to these conferences and the way they would basically just show up to like a professor and shake their hand and start talking about Pokemon, just pick up a topic of interest and be absolutely shameless. This is what's going to decide your career. Go ahead and initiate a conversation. Whether that ends up translating into anything or not, that's okay. But just go ahead, put your face out there, go ahead and initiate a conversation. Make sure that you make your contacts. And like I said, you should be able to get 1 or 2 publications from that research year or time, whatever that you're working, which will give you by itself a topic of conversation for interviews. Research by itself could be one of the most common deciding factors between your application and the application of another individual. We all want to match at an academic program for our training, at least. Whether we continue that in the future or not, that's a different topic. But when we are reviewing applications for candidates, we look at the publications. We look at how this CV is different from that CV, because initially we're honestly judging the individuals on the resume until we actually go ahead and interview them. So yeah, email them, get in touch with them, follow up. Don't just email and forget about it. Follow up on these things and try to get publications out of that research here. I think that's very important. I'm going to say that that's the way that I did my research, the way that the mentor that I worked with was one of the very common reasons that I got interviews at, and they actually talk about, oh, you worked with this particular person, whereas my research or my manuscripts were still under process or submitted or publication. But I think getting those mentors also helps a lot in getting those interviews and connections to kind of strengthen your resume. And just one last thing, how you do different from one year to another year, that's basically what they're wanting to see. Programs, most of the times, if you're applying to the same program, know that this is your second time applying. So they're very interested in seeing how is your resume different from the year that you applied before. And I think research could be a make or break things in a lot of instances. I think that's my spiel. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Zulfikar. That was phenomenal. That was really good. And the buzzword from her talk, I would say, is a mentor, right? A mentor-mentee relationship is so very important in every step of our lives. It's not just professional, but also personal. We always try, if all works well, we find the right person to guide us. Humans by nature, by default, we are erroneous beings, and having someone to guide us makes a lot of difference. So put yourself in a good right circle, and if you and having multiple mentors it is perfectly fine to have multiple mentors who can, maybe someone is guiding you on your career path and someone else is guiding you on a little more personal path, and that's perfectly fine, and take suggestions from everywhere and then see what is right for you and go on from there. All right, anyone else has to say anything before we move on to our next speaker? Okay. All right. So our next speaker is Dr. Sangam Kumar, who is actually in training right now. Dr. Kumar, I would give the mic to you, and you can introduce yourself and where you're at and how's it going for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for asking me to present in this conference. So I'm Sangam, PGY2 internal medicine resident at Mobile Informal Medical Center. I'm currently in Alabama. So I'm here to talk about the preliminary things, like how the preliminary position works and how can it can navigate to the further process. So I will just share my journey, how things worked out for me. So I was a preliminary resident, like PGY1, and most of the time people have the questions like, should I apply for the preliminary year or should I don't apply for the preliminary year? I think is the process I have seen right now. You should apply for everything, obviously. And preliminary things has like preliminary resident position is little tricky because obviously right now there's no H1 option for you from the what I have understood. Right now, most of the positions are J1, and for if you are applying for preliminary resident position, you cannot apply for the same specialty again in the next mid cycle because the federal government is not going to sponsor you for the same position PGY1 again. But it's way better to get matched in preliminary year rather than being unmatched because it's way easier to get PGY2 positions after getting preliminary year, after getting some exposure from that. And I have seen a lot of people getting PGY2 positions. Even I know a lot of sports right now available after getting preliminary year. Things change, things work out after you are into the residency. Your program director is going to help you, your FE is going to help you, you get networking. So don't think about like well, whether I would be repeating my year or whether I would be not getting visa after that. You will definitely get a PGY2 spot if you are working hard during your preliminary year. So when I started, obviously I was worried, like should I change my specialty after preliminary year or should I like just keep doing whatever I'm doing, like doing my internal residency and just wait for the PGY2 spot. So I think I also approached Dr. Gurez as well, and thanks to him as well, he guided me so well. So I just kept whatever I was doing, and I got my PGY2 spot during my residency in November, like November, I think same year. But even if you don't get a spot earlier, sports open after that. Um, and also I was about to talk about the what is the difference between preliminary year and transitional year. So there's a basic difference. Like in preliminary year, it's more focused on internal medicine, and in transitional year, it's like you are transitioning from your like I would say the medical educational career to the professional career. So it's kind of that. And you are, if you want to do, you are not sure whether you want to do internal medicine, you want to do surgery, you want to do pediatrics, or whatever other specialty you do transitional year. Things work like that for the American graduates in this country. But for us, you can do transitional year and you can reapply the same specialty again. For transitional year, it's like they are going to sponsor you again this J1 visa for the PG Bhavan because you are not in the one specialty here and you are not going to get paid for that specialty only. So that's a basic difference. And there was some things which I got from the other speakers and I wrote in my this notepad. Can you hear me, guys? I'm just making sure. Okay.
Yes, we can hear
So
you.
yeah. So what if you don't get matched? It was the question. So I think we know when we don't get matched, and we know that why we don't get matched, which from my understanding, um, because there is a time when you know that okay, so I used this and that's why I did this and that's why I didn't get matched. Okay, and everybody has that insight. Obviously, we are not sharing that insight with everybody, but we know why we didn't get matched. So there's a basic difference between how you did your medical school and after that how you reacted like how you behaved and how you um, went through the professional life and obviously house job is one of the that process. When you're doing house job, you are learning how to make a connection. I think it's more of it's right now after done with your medical school, medical knowledge doesn't matter, to be honest. They are seeing how much you are interacting, how much you are fluent, and how much you want to, how much you are interested in your career. So things matter like that. So in house job you get that experience, which I understand, and you are working under pressure. In Pakistani house job, you are definitely working under pressure, so you know how to deal with that. Other than that, and I agree to Dr. Gurrez, he mentioned about doing residency in Pakistan if you don't get matched. Definitely, if you want to do one specialty, like suppose internal medicine, if you don't get matched, do whatever you can do to improve your CV. If you're doing residencies in Pakistan, or you will learn a lot from there, to be honest. I have seen a lot of people doing residencies in Pakistan, but is a backup option. Um, After doing 2 year residency or 3 year residency, you can get fellowship here. And also you are like you are getting paid. Obviously, you are earning person that time, and also it gives you a lot of other experience. They know a lot. It's not like Pakistan residency is not worth it. They know a lot, even sometimes much better than us. So don't think like that. Okay, no, I don't want to do Pakistani residency, and I will just be at home. Will apply again, and um, here people think like what they did if they don't get matched. It's not like you just sit at home and you are applying again. So do whatever you can to improve your CV, okay? And there are I wrote why you didn't got matched could be a lot of okay. So um, there could be a lot of reasons that has led not you to match. One thing is networking. Obviously, your networking could not be was not strong enough to get you matched. One thing, okay, but it's not in your hands. You can try to improve your networking, but sometimes it's not your hands. And match works for everybody differently. It's not for me. It works like preliminary. For some other person, networking works. For the different other person, it would have worked very very differently. They came, they find a program director, they made him or made her, um, and they find a connection. So it's very luck process, to be honest. So don't be discouraged about that. That you didn't get matched. It's not the end of the world. Okay, and I would share one of the interesting thing. We were having dinner with our APD, and he was telling me about the how we assess the personal statement. Okay, so how they assess persons. He said that we don't care about your medical knowledge. After you are done with your USMLE, we know that you know law. You have done your examination. You have passed your examination, and right now, what we hear about on the personal statement is how you are in your life. I would like to listen about your cricket. If you are interested in cricket, I would like to listen about your extracurricular activities on your personal statement. Don't tell. Okay, so he also mentioned one thing interesting to me, that a lot of Desi people write, "Oh, I'm so poor, I'm so poor, I'm so miserable, and that's why I don't want to get matched." So, and he said, like, we know these things, but these things doesn't matter to us because we see these things very in common pattern. So just write about don't use AI please on personal statement. I've seen a lot of using AI on personal statement. There's a another topic, but don't use AI. Whatever English you know, just write it. Okay, so it will at least give you a personal touch that okay, Sangam has write his own personal statement. It's not used by AI. So these things were important. I think they should be considered if you don't get matched. Think about it. Think about your personal statement. Think about applying in SOAP about preliminary and transitional years. Get into the system. Don't worry about visa thing. Once you are in system, you are in system. You will get a lot of connections. You will be getting a lot of support, and they will support you in getting you the PGY2 spots. So don't worry about it. But obviously, there is always a consequences. Think about it. If you don't get PGY2 spot, there is a consequence. So you have to think about it. It's not like you don't have to think about it, but obviously, but I would say it's better to get match in preliminary or transition year than not getting match. Okay, and take the chances, take the risk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. That was wonderful. Isra Baji, do you have anything to say?
No, I think this was very well rounded. Sangam, I appreciate your insight. Lots of backup options, lots of plan B options that our wonderful speakers have said and lived their experiences and shared those years. Of course, we had to squish their whole complicated year into a 15-minute time slot. So, of course, there's a lot more they could talk about. So, we will hopefully have room for questions since this is a recorded webinar. Somewhere down in the comments, you could ask them questions and we'll get them to the speakers and get them answered for you. So, thank you everyone for speaking about that. Anything you want to say, anyone, before I close out our session tonight?
I was just going to add one thing, as Raji. I know this is like
Sure.
outside of the
No,
topic that I'm supposed to
absolutely.
talk about.
Yeah.
I think interview skills is a whole lot of another individual topic of how should you interview with a program. I think that's one of the things that we're not taught in school about how to interview. And that could be, you could have very well have a stellar CV, excellent scores, research and everything on your CV. But if you did not do well in that 15-minute slot of interview with the program director, with any faculty member, that could make or break your rank on your list. So I think it's very important that you also, when in that reflection part of why did you not match, also assess if your interview skills, because I think those are very important topics of conversation if you don't match.
Absolutely, that's really good, Dr. Zulfikar. And I would just like to add on Apna's YouTube channel, I do have a talk on interview skills. It's on Apna's YouTube channel if anyone wants to go through that.
To all these points about like interview skills and communication, I don't know if they still have that part in the ERAS application, but when I applied there was a hobbies section, and I just remember talking about that. Like, this was the COVID year when I applied, and I was into bread making and learning new languages and doing a lot of Lego stuff. And I feel like that is the only stuff that most of my interviewers wanted to talk about. So I would just, and you can find they they're bored of talking about medicine and like what are you doing, so they want to talk about things that they can feel excited about. So I want to just like let you know that I don't know if it's a part of the application, but maybe add in the personal statement and develop those hobbies, just hobbies that you already feel excited about, and talk about it.
Absolutely. This is honestly, Shrabaji, this is a great group of kids we have gathered here. We think alike. Hobbies is your conversation starter, guys. Be very vigilant and thoughtful about what you put in your hobbies. It is a conversation starter. And from my experience, I had actually just gotten done reading all the Game of Thrones novels right before the interview season. So I put that in there in my hobbies that I love reading. And the Game of Thrones novels are really good. And Tyrion Lannister is my favorite character. And there was other books that I had read, and I wrote about those authors that I like this author, like that author. And believe it or not, one of the attendings who interviewed me, he's like, "Oh, people in Pakistan know Malcolm Gladwell." I was not pleased with this question at all, I'll tell you that. But again, it was a conversation starter, right? And Tyrion Lannister is everybody's favorite, so that was also a conversation starter. So be open about writing your hobbies. I would suggest, instead of just putting in bullet points, elaborate. Just elaborate, like I elaborated on the authors that I like or characters in the stories. You can elaborate on other stuff too, like cooking and this and that. Whatever is your lateral interest, it really helps build a connection, because you never know that the person who's interviewing you also likes broccoli. Why would anyone like broccoli? I don't know, but they might like broccoli, and that may become a conversation starter. So use that space.
I'm gonna say I've talked about the biryani recipe with an American person during my interview, just
Uh-huh.
because I wrote cooking in one of my hobbies. So I agree. I think those could be conversation starters.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I wrote cooking and I've definitely shared some recipes with people. So, of course, they want to know. This was a great point. Dr. Umar is a great point, that people do want to know you beyond medicine. They want to know which person I'm giving a residency slot to, because they're not going to be a robot, right? They're going to be a person in the residency. And we want them to get along with people and bond and such. Of course, we're so like we're struggling and we're like at the bottom of the whatever tiers, or if you may, we're like koi to residency de de, but like ultimately it's 3 years, right? Like you are four or whatever number of years you're matching into. Like you want to be there as a person and enjoy what you're doing and not be like struggling and traumatized. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone. This was great. Gulrez, did you want to say something?
I was just saying that I do have a small experience of going unmatched. It will not look good. The world will end when the result comes out, when you get that email. Because I went unmatched for my fellowship when I applied for the first time. So yeah, I know how that feels. Your heart starts sinking. You go like, this is the end of the world. I would say just take 24 hours, get yourself up again, because the only way you can go forward is if you take yourself up again. So the world is open. There were some wonderful suggestions, kind of like discussed here. Pick things up that suits you the best, and then just come back as a stronger candidate, and you will find your way through the system.
Thank you, Gulrez. I appreciate your honesty in sharing that. So it's the few lines that I've jotted, really. We said those things at the start of the webinar. It is going to bring a lot of emotions. If you're listening to this webinar and you know that you've not matched or a loved one of yours has not matched, it is totally okay to take time to grieve. Gulrez put a 24-hour cap on the grieving. I would be the person who would grieve for a week or 2 weeks or three or whatever. The point is, process what you're feeling. Once you've processed it, done, it should be done, dusted, and take the next step. Just move on beyond the grief. Don't carry that baggage as baggage. And in fact, let that baggage be fuel for the future. And we hope that everyone here, all the insights, all the practical tips that everyone's given here will help guide you as you regroup and prepare for your next cycle with a much more strategic, with a stronger application, with much more polished interview skills. Thank you again for joining us. And please stay tuned for webinars and resources from Dogana YPC. Everyone here has given me 15 more ideas of talks we can do. We don't have enough time for the rest of the year, but hopefully we'll continue to support you along this journey and we root for your success. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.